everyone, my name is Hannah, and today I'm going to walk you through, present to you, justifying the decisions I've made and the reflection I've found in this branching scenario assignment. Overall, the scenario played out predictably. Many decisions encourage a teacher to follow their instincts in their solutions. Some feedbacks were surprising, but it did help me learn that some situation requires multiple steps and processes because of its nuances. Furthermore, it did encourage me to search for grounding evidence for my decisions and reassure me of the robust framework of the Australian Professional Standards for Teacher, APST, and Teachers Code of Ethics. Number 1 scenario, teachers and the law. In a scenario in which a student is texting on their mobile phone during class and some other student have noticed the breach of the school rules, the question is, what am I supposed to do as a teacher? I've chosen to quarterly ask the student to put the phone away and offer them an extension activity. I made this choice because under the Department of Education Student Use of Mobile Phones and Personal Devices Policy 2023, all students are required to keep their personal devices off and away between the start and end of each school day, with the exception of school's approval for specific agreed reason. However, circling back to our lecture in week 4 of the structure and culture of schools and schooling, Dr. Olozi talked about how the school system has not changed since the Industrial Revolution in 1840s. It is very rigid, with 50 minutes per subject and students having to sit in rows of desks like a manufacturing line and learn from teachers standing at the front. I acknowledge that this could be a difficult setting for students who have a shorter attention span or students with disabilities like learning impairment. Therefore, instead of being incredibly strict and physically confiscating their phone, I agree with the prompt that it's a reasonable choice to offer them some additional learning activity that may be more engaging for the student. This is a demonstration of Standard 1.5 and 1.6 of APST, which is to have differentiate teaching to meet the specific learning needs of students across the full range of abilities, and having strategies to support full participations of students with disabilities. Following this, the students put their phone away, quickly finishes their task, but then start a phone call conversation in class. My decision to ignore the student and let them complete the phone call in class is considered risky, understandably so because it's not fair for other students. However, here are my reasonings. Pedagogically, I believe that teachers should nurture a trusting and positive relationship with students. Breaking their boundaries by confiscating their phone while they are unaware will break this bond, meaning that in this situation, these were not the only choices at my disposal. Instead, I prefer to give 3 verbal warnings before taking anything in my possession, which allow me to enforce the rules but also ensure flexibility. This is a good reflection and practice of a good classroom culture, as well as social and emotional learning, SEL, to identify if student is capable of responsible decision-making and self-management. Finally, in a scenario in which as a deputy principal, if I notice a message that reads, "Wanna catch up at lunch for some weeding," on a student's unlocked phone screen confiscated on my desk, I must make a decision. This is a serious legal issue, which I look more into as a part of my reflection. Section 31 of the Children and Young People Safety Act 2017 states that various types of persons, teachers, social workers, prescribed health practitioner, etc., must report that a child is or may be at risk if they have reasonable grounds. This will include illegal act of prohibited substances. The key issues here is that, as stated in Ethical Practice by Ewing, education settings are places where power and authority are manifested differentially. With this power imbalance, some people are cautious of touching and invading students' private property, but the breaching scenario helps me watch out in my future career to be safer rather than sorry, while not jumping to conclusion. Number 2 scenario, accessibility and inclusion. To accommodate a student in my class with visual impairment, I chose to allow them to take a photo of the test and complete it on their iPad, while other students do their handwritten multiple choice tests with no internet access. Linking to the Disability Standard for Education DSE 2005, education providers are obliged to make reasonable adjustments for students with disability. These decisions comply with the Education Department aim for inclusion. I also reflected that through the study of fundamental concepts of inclusive education by Graham, I understood that in inclusion, it's important to have equality, not just equity. Therefore, in this situation, complying with legislation and Standard 1.6 of the APST to support students with disability is not necessary that all students can do it on the iPad, but making adjustments for students that struggle to do it handwritten. The student then achieved 100% on the test, which is much higher than their average band. While it is suspicious that the students achieve higher than normal, it is not a teacher's job to put a student in a box that we expect them to be. Teachers must make consistent and comparable judgments, Standard 5.3 of APST, and not let our bias restrict our students' potential. It is also extremely irresponsible to hide your decision from your students who deserve feedback on their learning, Standard 5.2 of APST, and receiving reliable reports on their achievement, Standard 5.5. Therefore, I would give the student the benefit of the doubt and ask them directly to be honest if they have abused the use of electronic devices and failed to uphold academic integrity. Finally, when the student admitted to cheating, I chose to arrange an interview with the head of faculty and a student council to discuss academic honesty. Academic honesty, especially for important or external state testing, is beyond teachers' jurisdiction, which is why I think it's important to involve other professional third party to discuss the next step. The feedback's suggestion make me understand that my response shouldn't end there. Therefore, while a student's story and argument should be taken into account, the point of reflection is that in complex situations, it's sometimes required to adopt multiple strategies, such as arranging an alternate exam to test students' knowledge or giving out 0 as a score. Number 3 scenario, preparing for the future. Along with the emergence of industrialized school structure, neoliberalism also cemented in the US by Ronald Reagan and in the UK by Margaret Thatcher. Neoliberalism in education has become increasingly like a private business in pursuit of excellence, which focuses solely on a child's achievement and their preparation for the workforce. This linked to the idea that a child should only learn what is needed to cover the curriculum. If these developing skills are useful for the future, whether it's to prepare them for higher education or for life skills, I think as teachers it's important to teach them. Therefore, I would create a video explaining the concept and ask students to view at home before a clarification in class. When some students have not watched the video, I simply find the fastest resolution during a limited time in class by setting in-class activities to those who have watched the video and show the video to those who haven't seen it. Additionally, teachers must take into account a student's virtual backpack, which is how much engagement students can provide in class and how much information they can receive in class, dependent on the situation they have outside of school and in their family. An immediate lunchtime detention leads to exclusion of students who may have struggled to complete homework at home. Like Bourdieu said, the education system demands of everyone alike that they have what it does not give. This consists mainly of linguistic and cultural competence and that relationship of familiarity with culture which can only be produced by family upbringing. Therefore, I make it a habit not to punish a student until I have a full story, but still set out boundaries and my expectations for next time. Finally, when the students have finished, instead of delivering the same content twice, I would ask them to join groups. This is an integration of SEL into academic instruction in Tier 1, including the gradual release of responsibility, GRR. The model starts with teacher-led instruction, I do, followed by collaborative learning, we do, and concludes with student-led independent work, you do. This group activity allowed the students to demonstrate their knowledge and refine their skills in teamwork and teaching each other while the teachers supervise. Number 4 scenario. Reflecting from the last 3 activities, I now understand that sometimes duty of care and legal matters require multiple actions to be taken. I demonstrate this in my response to this question. You are a deputy principal and you received a notification through the school portal indicating that a Year 6 student has possibly accessed prohibited sites, including search for pornography, racist imagery, and images. What do you think and how will you respond? Firstly, I will notify the mental teacher and the teacher whom the class the incident happened. Depends on the circumstances, the student name may remain anonymous, but it's important that the teachers are aware and watch out for similar incidents. This is very significant part of Standard 6.3 of APST, Professional Engagement, which requires graduate teachers to engage with colleagues and improve practices. Secondly, I will then ask to meet with the student, as I am a firm believer that every student deserves to justify their actions. I will then express the magnitude of the situation, which will require a meeting with their carers, guardians, or parents. If there are other parties involved, like friends who instigate the situation, then I will have to bring their family in as well. This is a part of Standard 7.3 of APST, Engage with Parents and Carers. Lastly, I will have meetings with the teachers to discuss potential issues like this and also brainstorming what to do and who to contact. I will then discuss with the principal, the executive team, and the head of middle school and senior school to see whether it's appropriate to have professionals come in and talk during the school assembly. The content would be about the importance of being safe online and what and why things are prohibited, and if so, which year should this content be presented to? Thank you for listening.